ArenaNet puts out another excellent dungeon. I'm Burden.
And I'm Ceres.
This is your GW2DAILY. Alright, so let's talk about the new dungeon path that ArenaNet put in this living story, the Aetherblade path in Twilight Arbor. Now, we did it a few times, and when I look back at it and I really try to think about the dungeon, there's really nothing that I don't like about it. I mean, there's one issue I might have with it, but we can talk about that a little later. But as I look through the whole dungeon, I'm actually like, there's nothing in this dungeon that bothers me or that I don't like. I just really liked how they handle the trash mobs, kind of condensing them in rooms instead of, you're running miles just killing trash mobs the whole way. And they have really unique puzzle rooms before the bosses, and I thought the bosses overall were also really good.
I found that the bosses were amazing to do. The middle one was a bit easy, but the other two had plenty of good mechanics in it. They just didn't do stupid damage and were very enjoyable to do and fun to find out how to do them. They also gave you clues and how to solve them throughout the instance while you're going through it, through the trash and some earlier puzzles and things, which was nice. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the first boss. It's kind of reminiscent of the Molten Weapons facility in my mind, like the two bosses kind of working together. And for me personally, I really love a mechanic like that. You have Slick, the Norn guy, throwing oil all over the room, and then you have Sparky, who's trying to ignite it on fire, while she's also throwing fireballs and things like that at you. I just love how they have it so synergized. It could almost be like one boss, but they decided to separate it into two working together. And it's really a coordinated fight because if you don't, everyone needs to know exactly what to do, because if you get one person who randomly gets the pheromone uh, buff on them, or however you want to call it, and they don't know that you have to drag the ooze through the oil to clean it up so you get that condition off of you, then they could ruin the whole fight because they start stacking and then you're just taking more and more damage. So it's a fight where everyone has to be on the same page. Everyone has to understand what they're doing. They did a good job. Basically, they did the Molten Webs facility and they did the Aetherblade retreat. Now this is the next dungeon they did, and I mean, I guess they're confirming over and over again in my mind that they know how to make the dungeons now, and every single dungeon that's coming out now is it's brilliant in my mind.
They're far above what they've earlier released in the during the release of the game. The original dungeons they just don't compare to all the newer dungeons that are coming out.
Just the mechanics are just Guild Wars 2 is very very true to Guild Wars 2's combat and how it all works. You don't see even the Aether Blades themselves were scaled back because they're not doing nearly as much damage as they used to in the whole Sky Pirates patch. So you're seeing a lot of damage being scaled back, but it's the mechanics that the bosses do, the mechanics that the trash mobs do that are going to hurt you. And if you don't understand those mechanics, then you're going to lose, that's what Guild Wars 2 needs, because you don't have the tank and you don't have a dedicated healer. You can't just heal through a bunch of damage. You have to get rid of that damage and add very interesting mechanics that, if you fail, then you fail. It's not because you're just taking so much damage and you just can't heal yourself. But anyway, let's move on to the second boss. This is the Char guy, Foreman Spur, I think his name was, and this is the part where I might say like I might have a problem with, just because we think that the reason why he's kind of easy compared to the other two bosses is because there's that achievement in there where he has to where you have to kill him before you kill any of the ads that are with him, and you have to survive the whole time as well. So what do you think of them making that boss fight a little easier? Do you think they're doing it just to have the achievement in there?
I think they decided to include the achievement afterwards, but it was because the boss was easy. But at the same time, if they had made it harder and then made the achievement, it would be impossible for most people to do the achievement at all. Because at the moment, most of your attacks they hit multiple things. and then the boss itself is is within a whole bunch of weaker mobs that will die a lot quicker from AoEs on him. It really enforces separating every single one of those mobs away from the boss. At the same time as the person who's doing it has to survive, and there is a lot of mobs there. So if the Aetherblade mobs themselves hadn't been nerfed, it'd be even harder to do that achievement.
For sure.
So it's understandable why it's like that.
Even nerfed now, I don't know if I'm sure there are groups that are gonna go out there and do it, but it's probably for like 95% of the Guild Wars 2 population, they're not gonna be able to do this achievement. It's just crazy. I mean, the trash mobs are arguably stronger than the bosses, so it's gonna be really difficult to kite those around while you're trying to kill the boss.
It does make the end mini pet actually be worth something, though, which is I think is pretty good. If you see someone walking around with that, you know that they've done that really hard fight, which is pretty amazing. And they're keeping it in there too. It's a permanent thing. It's not. If this was temporary content, then I'd be a bit not too happy with it. But it's there, so it's a challenge that's in the game.
I wish
It adds something where you can represent what you've done, but at the same time, it's not something that would just give someone a big power boost. It's just a status symbol, which is quite nice.
I mean, I felt the same way about Liadri when I got the Liadri mini pet. When I showed off, I know not everyone has it. You know, sometimes they hand out mini pets a little too easily, just kind of freely handing out mini pets to everyone. But it's great when you have those really difficult challenges like that, and they hand out a mini pet. So when you, especially if the mini pets look really cool, if you're doing a really difficult challenge. If it's like a very generic mini pet, I don't think anyone's really gonna care. Like the Liadri mini pet looks really cool. So people, when you pull it out, people are like, "Oh, where'd you get that?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I did. I killed Liadri in the Queen's Gauntlet type thing." Okay, so before we move on to the last boss, I wanted to talk about the puzzle rooms before the bosses. Like we had the one with the ooze, where you had to drag it through like a little maze, I guess, with fire on all sides, and you had to drag it to the gears, and both sides had to do it at the same time. You had that one, and then you also had the electric. The floor was electric. It was kind of like you compared it to Tetris, and
electric Tetris.
And basically you had to get to the different corners without being hit by the electric field. They also had the achievement in there for not getting hit by the electric fields on the floor, which is also probably a very difficult achievement. Although I could see people cheating doing it, because you could just have you could just take turns while you go there. Have like 3 people doing the switches, while like 2 people just kind of sit in the corner. I guess the only time it would matter is at the end when you have to pull the holographic Aetherblade guy. But I can see people kind of cheating it a little bit. But those puzzles were great, man. I remember when we finally got the ooze to the ends at the gear, we're like, "Oh, we did it!" Oh, wait a second, we have to do the other side too. And then we didn't know it was gonna.
Yeah.
We didn't know the progress was gonna despawn, so we're like, "All right, well, we'll just go to the other side and do it." And then all of a sudden, the progress goes away. It's like, oh shit! So we actually have to do both of these at the same time, and that's really cool. It's more coordination for teams. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people have been asking for in the dungeons, and I think they really delivered on this one.
It was actually easier when you were going both at the same time, because you didn't have every single fire elemental on one side of the map trying to kill Yuris. You just had it, just a couple, which were easy to deal with.
For sure, absolutely. Because when you start getting towards the end, the lava elementals will come from the other side and start attacking your ooze. Not to mention players sometimes attacking the ooze as well.
Oh yeah.
But you think you're escorting
it.
It's a weird feeling, because I remember the first time we went through it, I threw my supply crate down on my engineer because I thought I wanted to stun the lava elemental, and I ended up stunning the ooze as well. Because it feels like he's your friend, like you're escorting a friend, and you keep forgetting that he's actually your enemy as well.
He will kill you if you stand near him. He actually will. I like how they made that, so you can't just hang around beside him and body block every single shot. You have to pull him along the whole way.
And the second one was the electric fields on the floor. and basically had to get to each corner without getting hit by the floor, so you don't have the negative charge on you and you won't be thrown back. Which I really love that puzzle. How about you, man?
I liked it. When it started, it was fun figuring it out. Which wasn't too hard. Just looked at the ground and then saw, alright, they're all moving in a pattern along the ground, one direction. Whenever I'm touching those electric fields, I'm getting this negative charge, and it's repulsing me from the positive charge, which I thought was a bit weird. Considering opposites are supposed to attract, yeah.
I should have given you a positive buff.
Yep.
A little strange. I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, I noticed that as well.
I think someone there who designed it needs to go learn some science. Just a little bit.
I can't believe no one stopped him and said, "Wait a second." All the testers who played it, no one said anything.
Go, yeah, sure. Negative repels from positive. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the last boss now. I mean, this last boss, I love this last boss. It almost feels like a little Raid-esque. I mean, the way it's just so coordinated, and we talk about this in pretty much all the fights in this new dungeon. And there are things where he doesn't put out all this crazy damage. I mean, he does, but it's all avoidable. Like, if you're standing too far away and he throws out the gears at you, and you get hit by the gears, that's your fault, you know what I mean? That's not just bad design of just too much damage coming out. You're standing in the gears and you're dying. Or he'll do the big AoE where he's, it's such a slow animation. It's very, very easy to see. And so if you get hit by it, then, that's your fault. That's not bad design of just too much damage coming out. And I love that. I love that design of there are these few big mechanics. If you get hit by him and you die, then that's completely your fault. It's not just, like I said, it's not just all this random damage coming, from everywhere, and you just can't handle it. Well, cool. What do you think about the last boss? Give me some thoughts.
The last boss was a bit tricky at first, trying to figure things out, but eventually we got it, which is pretty cool. Just like learning all the ins and outs of his mechanics, like when he gets the 30 stacks, he's got the big super doom AoE, like full room death. It almost kills you, and if you get a little bit of damage, you're pretty much dead. And yeah, working out how to stop him from getting that, keeping everyone close enough so that you don't just get cogs everywhere around the room. Avoiding his big sweep was kind of nice as well. Also, they didn't make it so that his auto attack was just doing stupid amounts of damage on you when you came near him, so you could actually go near him, unlike with some other bosses in the game, which would just do massive attacks instantly on you when you're close to them, and it's like, okay, why does it do this?
Which always encouraged ranged gameplay in Guild Wars 2 over melee.
Yep. Because you can take a few of those auto attacks, but it means that if you don't get the stack off him, then the big charge from the end will kill you. If you let him get to 30.
See, this is another fight where it's kind of coordinated, as in, like what I was saying with the first boss, where if not everyone's on the same page, then it can be difficult to kill him. Because you have to get the holographic image over to him to blow him up to get that shield off. And if someone doesn't really know what's going on and they kill the image before they get there, or like they're pulling the boss away from the image while the rest of the team's killing the image, that could really screw you up, especially if he gets to 30 stacks because of that, and then he does that just massive death AoE that's just hitting everyone 5 or 6 times. I mean, this is what I love about the dungeon, is the boss fights are what I would consider, if for Guild Wars 2, just extremely good boss fights. Especially when you go back and compare it to some of the vanilla dungeons, it's just miles apart. So, what's your conclusion about all of it? Just give me a overall rundown of your thoughts.
Good boss fights, good mechanics. The whole instance was interesting, not just the bosses in themselves. And it was a bit sad that they replaced the older dungeon part, but I suppose they got to do what they got to do. And yeah, overall great. Can't wait to see what other changes they make for other dungeons.